What's up, everyone? Dr. Laura Pence here with Understanding Your Greatest Self. We are beginning the month of April. Can you believe it's April already? That's crazy. Okay, so we're in the month of April, and we're talking this month all about how do I handle my emotions. So we're going to dive into emotion regulation, we're going to dive into emotion identification, management, all of that stuff, right? And it's really important for you to understand how you manage your emotions, because how you manage your emotions is completely impacting the way that you're showing up for yourself, for other people, for relationships, for your job, all of it, right? So today specifically, we are going to explore the concept of what judgments do I have about emotions. And here's the thing, we all have them a little bit, right? Some of us have them a lot of it, actually, but all of us have like a little bit of, I don't know, maybe like a tribe up here that judges certain emotions that we feel or that we experience. So let me give you an example of that. Let's say that you're particularly angry about something, right? But then all of a sudden you hear yourself saying, you shouldn't be angry, right? Or don't be an angry person, or anger is a pointless emotion, so get over it, right? So that's like coming down from this internal tribe and judging your current state. And sometimes, most of the time, it's actually really unhelpful because the judgments that we have about our emotions can limit the way that we express our emotions. It can also limit the way that we understand our emotions, because for anger, for example, anger isn't a negative emotion. Like, no emotion actually is a negative emotion. Emotions are just neutral. We ascribe negative or positive like context to them. I mean, think about fire, for example. Fire isn't necessarily negative or positive, it's neutral. But what you do with fire matters. Like if you use fire to roast marshmallows, delicious, awesome, yum. But if you set a house on fire, not so great, right? So anger and other emotions are the same way. It's not the experience of them, right, that makes it positive or negative. It can be more painful, but that's not negative. It's what we then do with the emotion, right? And what we do with the emotion is often seated in our judgment about the emotion, okay? So your exercise of the week is to name and identify the judgments you have for the following emotions: anger, sadness, joy, grief, and shame. So each of those emotions, I want you to write a sentence or two, or if you want to write a paragraph, sweet, go for it. But what are the judgments you have about each of those emotions? So let me give you an example of that. So your judgment for grief might be get over it, right? Your judgment for shame might be don't share with anyone that you feel shame because it's a weak emotion, right? Or your judgment for joy might be don't feel too much joy because it'll go away soon, right? So I want you to really dive deep. Now, some of these emotions that I've identified, you might have an easier time with than others, identifying the judgment that goes with it. But usually we have a judgment about each of them, okay? And if it's really hard for you, if you're having a difficult time and you really don't feel like you have a judgment about it, great, fine, that's awesome. But see if you can just kind of go deep with yourself, get curious, have some inquiry around it, and see what you can come up with, okay? So that's your exercise of the week. Now, come back on Thursday, because on Thursday we're going to talk a little bit about where do your feelings come from, in terms of what feelings do you have a tendency to move towards and what feelings do you have a tendency to move away from, right? That's going to be Thursday's episode, okay? So make sure you're coming back on Thursday. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't subscribed. Like, what gives? Make sure you're part of this community, okay? I'll see you on Thursday. Bye. I'm so hungry and looking forward to my buffalo cauliflower, by the way.